One of the first things that you want to do when you start learning handstand is to build really strong wrists. And we're going to do this by progressively increasing the amount of load that you place on your wrists. If you think about a handstand, you're placing your entire body weight on your hands, okay? And if you've never done that before, that's a lot of weight to place in your hands. So I'm going to show you today some ways that you can slowly build up to the handstand. We're going to focus on three main principles today. And the first is the idea that whichever exercise we're doing it with active hands. Okay, what does this mean? This means that we're setting our hands up in such a way that we're supporting all our joints and our structure. Okay, so we're setting our hands up. That's coming up our arm into our shoulder, and you're really going to feel how that impacts everything when you set your hands up in this active way. The second idea is to build up your strength by progressively increasing the amount of load. And so we're going to do this by decreasing the amount of other support that we have in our hands. Okay, so if we think about our handstand where all our weight is on our hands, okay, and then we think about a situation where, I'm on my knees and not much of my weight is on my hands. Most of it's on my knees right now. So we're going to go between those two and figure out how can we build up. And we do that by decreasing the support that the rest of our body is providing until all the weight is on our hands. The third principle that we're going to use throughout all these exercises is we're going to load our wrists at a 90-degree angle. So in our handstand, we have that 90-degree angle between our wrist, between our hand and our forearm. And so in these exercises, we want to load our wrist in that same position. Something like a down dog is great for building up shoulder strength and working on mobility, but it doesn't give you the same wrist angle that you're going to do in a handstand. And so you'll find it loads your wrist in a very different way and doesn't necessarily build the strength that you need. So, with those three principles in mind, let's get started with our first exercise. For our first exercise, we're going to begin on our hands and knees, with our hands under our shoulders and our knees under our hips. Now we're going to start with the concept of active hands. And all we're going to do to begin with is start feeling, where do you feel the weight on your hands? Okay, are you feeling a lot of weight in your fingers? Do you feel it sitting on the heel of your hand? Do you feel it on the outside edge where your pinky is, the inside edge where your thumb is? There's no right or wrong at this point. I just want you to bring awareness to where you're feeling it. Can you feel weight on your knuckles? Okay, so when I say knuckles, I'm meaning this area below your fingers where your calluses are. So can you feel weight along that line? Now that you've brought awareness to where you're feeling the weight on your hands, I want you to be a little more intentional. So we're going to think about 3 points of contact. 2 on the heel of your hand, okay, so 1 on the thumb side and 1 on the other side. And then the third point of contact, we're going to have between the middle and index finger around that knuckle line, okay, so just below your fingers. So I want you to place your hands on the floor, if they're not still there, and I want you to feel the weight in those 3 points. Yes, there'll be weight in other areas, but I really want you to see if you can feel those 3 points engaged with the floor. So this is the start of our active hand position. The next stage is I want you to think about screwing your hands very gently into the floor. So as if you're trying to turn your hands out towards your pinkies. And this is we're not like, right? We're not going to rip our mats here. It's a very gentle push down, slight rotation of the hands, okay? Or as if you're trying to rotate your hands. So we've got that active, and you'll feel that stuff around your shoulder starts to get engaged as you do that. The final part of our active hands is your fingers. So I want you to think about gripping the floor with your fingers as if you're trying to almost lift your mat up, okay? So we've still got those 3 points of contact with the floor. We're lightly screwing our hands into the floor, and then we're gonna grip the floor with our fingers as if we're trying to pick up our mat. And so this in itself is a lot of work, just to feel that active hands position. Now we're gonna sit back a little bit. See if you can feel where the weight shifts when you do this. And then lean forward. And then find the happy medium. And see if you can feel the position where you're feeling your weight very centered between those 3 points. Okay, so your weight overall is somewhere in the middle of the palm of your hand. And what you're going to find is this is where you have roughly that 90-degree angle between your forearm and your hand. So just this position, working on the active hands, this is where we start to build that strength. But how can we start making that more challenging? So as I said before, our second principle is to start removing our contact with the floor. So what I can do in this position is push down, lift one hand off the floor, and I can tap my shoulder, bring my hand back down, push down, come up, tap my shoulder. And so by doing these shoulder taps, okay, I'm decreasing my support with the floor and increasing my load on that one wrist. So our first exercise is just on your hands and knees, feel that active hand position, and then start doing shoulder taps when you feel like your wrists are ready. For our second exercise, we're going to progress this further by removing more points of contact with the floor. So how are we going to do this? Let's get back into that hands and knees position. So we first want to think about active hands. So feel those points of contact, lightly screw your hands into the floor, grip the floor with your fingers. Okay, so we've got that active hands. We can feel the weight centered. We have our shoulders over our hands, 90 degrees at the wrist. We're going to push down. We're going to push into our toes and gently lift our knees off the floor. So you can immediately feel, place your knees back down. As you lift up, you can already feel there's more load now in your hands. So by progressing to this variation, we're starting to build a little more strength in our wrists. And you can simply hold that position, okay? Come up to this position, hold for 10 seconds, come back down, okay? Accumulate a total of 60 seconds in that position, okay? It might be 6 sets of 10 seconds, okay? You're building the strength that you need in your wrists. We can progress this even further. When we were on just our hands and knees, we lifted one hand off. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna lift one hand off. So I'm gonna lift my right hand off, but I'm also gonna lift my left foot off. And then I'm gonna step them forward. I'm gonna push down with my right hand, lift my left hand off, lift my right foot off, and step forward. So my knees are staying close to the floor. I'm trying to keep that active hands a 90-degree angle, and I'm just taking little steps. So our second exercise is this very slow, controlled crawling. Now this is very challenging. So you might want to start with 20 seconds of crawling, okay? And then take a 20-second rest, another 20 seconds of crawling. Do 5 rounds of that, okay? And you'll start building some of that strength in your wrists. And as an added bonus, you'll start building some of that strength that you need in your core. We're going to move on to our third exercise. And so we're going to continue to progress these exercises by increasing the amount of load on our hands. And we're going to do this by shifting our weight more over our hands. Okay, so the crawl position was spread out. we're going to shift our weight a little more over our hands, and I call this exercise the push and lean. Now, the important thing with this exercise is not to get as much weight as you can on your hands, but to get as much weight as you can on your hands while maintaining a 90-degree angle here. So your shoulders are always staying over your hands. They are not going way over your fingers. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this looks like. So what we're not doing is trying to get more weight on our hands by leaning further forward. This is going to put a lot more strain on your wrists, but not in the way that we want for a handstand. So we're going to make sure we keep that 90-degree at the wrist while we shift more weight over our hands. Now, for many people, this is going to be challenging because of flexibility, okay? You might be tight in your hamstrings. I don't mind if you bend your knees. So bent legs here is totally fine. As you do this exercise, remember active hands, okay? So that lightly screwing into the floor, gripping the mat with your hands, and keeping that 90-degree angle. Again, build your strength here by accumulating time in the position. Okay, 10 seconds, come out of it, maybe do that 6 times. For the next 2 exercises, you're gonna need a bench or a chair. For this next variation, we're gonna do a pike handstand. So we're increasing the amount of load on your hands by elevating your feet. Remember your active hands here, okay? Feel that contact, lightly screw your hands into the floor, grip with your fingers. And again, don't worry about your legs. If your legs need to bend, that's perfectly fine. We're working on building that strength in your wrists. This final exercise is both a great progression for your walking up to handstand at a wall, and also a great way to increase the amount of load on your hands. So let's take a look. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing there. We're beginning in a plank position, okay? Active hands, 90-degree angle at the wrist, and then I'm increasing the load on each hand one at a time by stepping the other hand in, okay? So as you do that, you just want to bring your butt up in the air and then come back out. And that's helping you with that walk towards the wall for your chest to wall handstand, and also helping build the strength that you need in your wrists. So those are my 5 exercises for building strong wrists for your handstand by progressively increasing the amount of load that you're putting on them. Okay? Practice these exercises by spending time in these positions and slowly progress through them to make your journey towards your handstand smooth.